The crash in the wasteland. The desert was silent. Too silent. The red sky burned overhead, and the heat made the ground shimmer like water. Human explorer Jace Rylan moved carefully over the dusty hills. His boots crunched on the dry sand as he scanned the horizon through his visor. Then he saw it. Smoke. Black, heavy smoke rising into the air not far from him. A crash. Jace whispered to himself. His heart beat faster. This planet, Alara 9, was full of dangers. Wild beasts, toxic air pockets, and tribes that didn't like outsiders. But curiosity pulled him forward. Jace sprinted toward the smoke. As he got closer, he saw twisted metal and broken glass. A small escape pod had slammed into the earth, half buried in sand. The hatch was open, the insides burned and broken. He raised his blaster just in case. "Hello?" he called out. "Is anyone alive?" Then he heard it. A cry. Weak, soft, like a whisper carried by the wind. He rushed to the side of the wreck and peeked inside. There, lying in the shadows, was an alien woman. Her skin was pale lavender, with soft glowing lines across her arms. Her long hair was messy, stuck to her face with sweat. In her arms was a small child, a boy, not moving. Jace climbed inside without thinking. The woman's eyes opened wide in fear, but she couldn't speak. Her lips trembled. "Please," she finally whispered. "Help. My son." Jace checked the boy. He was breathing, but barely. His body was burning with fever, and his skin was too cold. "What happened?" Jace asked. "Crash," she said, voice weak. "Poison, in air. He's sick. I don't have the cure." Jace looked at her, surprised. "You speak English?" "A little," she nodded. Her voice shook. "You are human?" "Yes," Jace replied. "I can help, but it won't be easy." Tears filled the woman's eyes. She grabbed his arm. "I'll do anything," she said. "Anything. Just help him. He's my only child." Jace paused. He had rules. His mission said, "Do not interfere with native species." He could get arrested for this, but the child wheezed again. His little hand twitched. Jace sighed and pulled out his medical scanner. "I'll try," he said, "but we need to move fast." He picked up the boy gently and turned to leave the wreck. The mother tried to stand but fell. She was hurt too. Without thinking, Jace turned back and lifted her in his other arm. "Hold on," he said. "I'll get you both out of here." 10 minutes later, he reached his rover. It was a dusty, four-wheeled machine loaded with gear. He placed the boy in the back, wrapped in a silver thermal sheet. The alien woman sat beside him, gripping his tiny hand. "What's your name?" Jace asked as he drove. "Sarah," she replied. "My son's name is Kale." "He's strong," Jace said. "He'll make it." But deep down, he wasn't sure. The scanner showed signs of a rare desert toxin, one not in the human database. "I need more data," Jace muttered. "AI, scan for desert flora with detox properties." "Scanning. One match. Virax plant. Grows near the Spire Canyons. Dangerous terrain. Creatures present." Sarah heard the voice. "There's a cure?" she asked. "Maybe," Jace said. "But it's far and dangerous." "Then let's go," she said quickly. "Please." Jace looked at her. Her eyes were full of fear, but also fire. "You're not coming with me," he said. "You're injured." "I have to," she said. "Kale is my life. If he dies, I die." Jace didn't argue. He knew that feeling. He nodded. "We leave at dawn." That night, the desert wind howled. Inside the rover, Jace sat awake while Sarah cradled her sleeping son. The boy whimpered in pain, and she softly sang a lullaby in her own language. Jace watched them quietly. He didn't know who she was or why she had crashed here, but something told him this was no ordinary mother and no ordinary child. He opened a small box beside him. Inside was a photo of a young boy, his own little brother who had died many years ago from an untreatable illness. I couldn't save him, Jace whispered to himself. He looked over at Kale. But maybe I can save this one. As the sky turned purple before sunrise, Jace loaded his rifle, checked his gear, and prepared for the journey to Spire Canyon. He didn't know what was waiting for him out there, but he knew one thing. He had made a promise. Against protocol for a child. Hook. Start. Jace stood at the canyon's edge, his scanner beeping wildly. Behind him, the alien mother watched with silent eyes. His orders were clear: never interfere. But the small boy's shallow breathing reminded him why rules were sometimes made to be broken. The sky was a dark orange when Jace turned off his rover. The engine hummed softly, then died. Silence returned to the desert, broken only by the weak cough of the sick alien child. Inside the rover, Sarah wiped sweat from her son's forehead. His skin was still cold, but now he was shaking. His fever is getting worse, she whispered, barely able to hold back her tears. Jace stepped back in and sat across from them. He looked at the data on his wrist scanner. The poison in the boy's body was spreading faster than expected. If they didn't get the cure in the next few hours, the child wouldn't make it. I found a location, Jace said. A plant that might help him. Virax root. It grows in the Spire Canyon, but... Sarah leaned forward. It's in a restricted zone. I'm not allowed to go there. My orders from Central Command are clear. No help. No contact. No interference. Sarah's voice cracked as she whispered, "Then why did you save us?" Jace opened his mouth to answer but couldn't. His mind flashed back to a memory. His little brother lying in bed, pale and sick, eyes begging him to do something. Anything. "I don't know," Jace finally said. "But I'm going." Sarah's breath caught. "I'm coming with you." Jace shook his head. "You're hurt. You need to stay here with Kale." Sarah looked at her son, then at Jace. "If you die out there, who will save him?" That stopped him. At sunrise, Jace packed supplies into his field bag: water, rations, medical kit, and a plasma rifle. Sarah stood beside him, now wrapped in a dark cloak. She moved slowly, but her eyes were full of determination. The two stepped into the desert, leaving the rover behind. Kyle remained inside, watched, over by Jace's AI drone, which monitored his vitals and sent alerts. The path to Spire Canyon was dangerous, not just because of the wildlife, but because of what the canyon meant. Long ago, the place had been a battlefield. Jace had read reports: alien traps, toxic mist, unstable rock formations. "Why does the plant grow there?" he asked as they walked. Sarah replied, "Virax only grows where blood has been spilled. It feeds on pain." Jace raised an eyebrow. "Sounds lovely." By midday, they reached the rocky cliffs of the canyon. Tall, spiked rocks towered above them like broken teeth. A hot wind howled between them, echoing like voices from the past. Suddenly, the scanner on Jace's wrist buzzed. "Life forms ahead," he said. "2, maybe more." Sarah gripped his arm. "This is sacred ground for my people. Some spirits never left." Jace didn't believe in ghosts, but the cold feeling in his chest made him uneasy. They moved carefully through the narrow path. The deeper they went, the darker it got, even though the sun still shone above. Strange vines clung to the walls. Glowing eyes blinked from deep crevices, watching. Then they saw it, a small patch of blue-green plants growing near a cracked stone. The Virax root. Jace moved forward quickly, pulling out a small blade to collect it. Just as he cut the first root, he heard a hiss behind him. A creature stepped out from the rocks. It was tall, bone-white, with 6 legs and long claws. Its eyes were like black marbles, and its tongue flicked in the air. "Don't move," Jace whispered. But Sarah stepped forward, eyes glowing faintly. She raised her hands, palms up, and began to hum. The creature paused. Her body shimmered with soft light as she sang in an alien tongue. The creature tilted its head, then slowly backed, away into the shadows. Jace stared at her. Was that? A song of peace, Sarah said, breathing hard. My people call it the lullaby of the fallen, but it only works once. Jace nodded and stuffed the plant into a sealed container. Then let's not meet another one. They hurried back through the canyon, watching every shadow. When they finally reached the open desert again, Jace breathed a sigh of relief. Let's go save your son, he said. They returned to the rover just before nightfall. The AI had triggered a warning. Kale's condition had dropped rapidly. Jace crushed the virax root, mixed it with water, and carefully injected it into the boy's veins using a portable med pen. Syrah held her breath. Kale twitched, coughed, and then went still. Minutes passed. Then he whimpered. His eyes opened slowly. Mama? Syrah cried out in joy and pulled him close. Jace sat back, exhausted but smiling, against protocol, against orders, against logic. But for this moment, it was all worth it. Hunted for hope. Hook, start. Something moved in the shadows, big, fast, and silent. Jace tightened his grip on his plasma rifle. Beside him, Sarah whispered, This canyon was once a graveyard. Now it belongs to the hunters. The canyon, air was heavy. Even though the sun still hung in the sky, it felt cold and dead inside the cliffs. The wind carried strange sounds, whispers, growls, dry laughter. Jace had heard many legends during his training, but nothing prepared him for this place. They had already found the virax root, but getting out was another story. Stay close, Jace whispered to Sarah as they moved along the narrow path between jagged rocks. Sarah nodded, holding her injured side. I feel eyes watching us. They're not just watching, Jace replied. They're following. Suddenly, a deep, bone-shaking growl echoed across the canyon walls. The ground trembled slightly. Something large had just woken up. They quickened their pace, climbing over broken stone and ducking under sharp overhangs. Jace's visor flashed red, multiple life forms approaching. 5 creatures. Surrounding us. Sarah's voice was tense. You must run. I'll distract them. Not a chance, Jace said. I didn't come all this way to leave you behind. From the shadows ahead, a creature stepped out. It was massive, like a mutated wolf with stone-like skin, burning red eyes and metal claws. It sniffed the air, its gaze locking onto Jace. And then Sarah. Back away slowly. Jace whispered. But the creature snarled and charged. Jace pushed Sarah aside and raised his rifle. Plasma bolts slammed into the beast's shoulder, making it stumble, but not fall. The monster lunged again faster than expected. Jace rolled away, grabbing a flash grenade from his belt. Cover your eyes. He threw the grenade. A blinding, white light burst across the canyon. The creature shrieked in pain, crashing into the canyon wall, but more growls echoed behind them. They're calling the pack, Sarah gasped. Jace pulled her up. This way! They ran, dodging rocks, sliding down dusty slopes and leaping over cracks in the earth. Behind them, claws scraped on stone. The hunters were closing in. As they rounded a corner, Jace's scanner blinked. Cave up ahead, he said. It's our only chance. They ducked into the cave, breathless. It was dark and narrow, but deep enough to hide in. Jace activated a small force field at the entrance, just enough to block scent and heat signals. The growls outside stopped. They were safe. For now. Inside the cave, Jace lit a small lantern. Sarah sat down, breathing hard. I thought you were going to leave me, she said softly. Jace shook his head. Not my style. She looked at him with soft eyes. You risked your life for me, twice now. Jace sighed. This wasn't part of my mission. I came here to scan minerals and collect samples. I wasn't supposed to meet a desperate mother or get chased by canyon monsters. Sarah touched her chest. But you did. And you saved my son. Jace looked away. Not yet. We still have to make it back. She smiled gently. Still, I'm starting to think the old stories about humans were wrong. Hours passed in the cave. Jace checked the sealed container holding the virax root. Still stable, still usable, but his mind wandered. "Why were you in that escape pod?" he asked. Syrah hesitated. "We were fleeing from my own people." Jace looked surprised. "You're a fugitive." She shook her head. "No, I'm royalty. Or I was." She pulled out a small glowing pendant from her cloak. It shimmered with ancient symbols. "My family wanted to hide Kale's illness. They said he was a shame to the bloodline. I refused to let him die in silence. So I ran." Jace stared at her, stunned. "Your people would let a child die? Because of pride?" "Yes," she said sadly. "But you didn't." Outside, a sudden roar shattered the silence. The creatures were still nearby. Jace stood up and loaded his rifle again. "Move at first light," he said. "And we move fast." Syrah stood too, her eyes calm now. "You saved me twice. Let me save you once if it comes to it." Jace chuckled. "Deal." But in his heart, he knew the hardest part was yet to come. They had the cure. But could they? Survive the return? Alien secrets and human honor. Hook. Start. As the cave grew darker, Jace noticed the strange way Sarah's pendant glowed, almost like it was alive. "That's not just jewelry," he said quietly. Sarah looked away. "No. It's the reason my son was marked for death." The fire flickered low inside the narrow cave. Outside, the alien wind howled, and somewhere in the shadows a beast cried into the night. But inside it was quiet, too quiet. Jace sat sharpening the edge of his knife while Sarah sat near her sleeping son, Kale. The boy finally looked peaceful, wrapped in blankets with the antidote still working through his small body. Sarah's eyes were fixed on the glowing pendant around her neck. Jace watched her carefully. "That symbol," he said, nodding toward it. "It's not just a family heirloom, is it?" Sarah hesitated, then slowly removed the pendant and placed it between them. "This," she said softly, "is the mark of the Valen bloodline. My family ruled for generations, but with power comes fear." Jace leaned forward. "Fear of what?" She looked at her son. "Fear of what happens when the bloodline mixes." Jace's face hardened. "You mean Kale's father wasn't from your species?" Sarah nodded. "He was human, a soldier, like you." Jace was stunned. "That's why your people rejected you," he said. "Yes," Sarah replied. "When I found out I was pregnant, I tried to keep it hidden. But the moment Kale was born, they knew. His skin carries both our blood. His illness, it's a reaction. Two worlds fighting inside one body." Jace's voice dropped. "They tried to erase him." Sarah nodded slowly. "I fled during the night. They told me he would not be accepted. They said, 'Let him fade quietly.' But I refused. I'd rather die than watch him die alone." Jace clenched his fists. "I've seen injustice in war, but never like this." She looked at him with teary eyes. "That's why I begged you. Not because you're human, but because you were the only one who didn't turn away." There was a long silence. Then Sarah asked, "Why did you help me really? You risked everything, even your mission." Jace took a deep breath. "My little brother died from a rare disease. I watched him suffer, helpless, and I couldn't do anything, but this time, I could." Sarah's eyes softened. "So, you saved Kale for your brother?" "No," Jace said quietly. "I saved Kale for me, because I needed to believe I could still do something good." Suddenly, the cave scanner beeped. A signal. Jace checked it. Unidentified craft approaching, fast. Sarah stood up quickly. "That signal. It's my people. They've found me." Jace narrowed his eyes. "And what will they do if they find a human with you?" Sarah's face darkened. "They'll kill you." Jace moved into action. He tossed a few items into his pack and checked Kale's vitals. Stable, but still too weak to move. Sarah stopped him. "There's a way out. A hidden path from the old wars. It's dangerous, but it leads to the Whispering Dunes. No one follows through there." Sounds like a trap, Jace muttered. It's our only chance, she replied. Jace nodded. Then let's move. He carried Kale on his back while Sarah led the way through the narrow cracks in the cave wall. They moved quietly under the night sky, taking cover between rocky outcrops. As they walked, Sarah whispered, They won't stop, Jace. Even if we escape, the council doesn't just want me gone. They fear what Kale represents. Jace looked over his shoulder. What's that? Sarah gave a weak smile. Hope. A future where humans and aliens don't have to hate each other. As they reached the edge of the dunes, Jace stopped. The moonlight fell across Sarah's face. Her eyes glowed faintly. You know, he said, you're not just a mother or a fugitive. She tilted her head. You're a revolution, he finished. She chuckled. Then what does that make you? Jace smiled. The idiot who joined it. They vanished into the dunes just as alien ships passed overhead, scanning the canyons behind them. The chase wasn't over, but the bond between the human and the alien mother had become unbreakable. And sometimes honor isn't in following orders. It's in breaking them for the right reason. The Boy Awakens hook. Start. Jace had faced war, betrayal, and death, but nothing made his hands shake like watching a sick child breathe his last, especially when he might be the only reason that child wakes up again. The night was cold in the whispering dunes. Wind carried fine sand across the rocks, whistling like ghosts in the dark. Inside a makeshift tent made from Jace's emergency shelter, silence weighed heavy. Kale hadn't moved in hours. His small body lay still under thermal blankets. The Virax cure was inside him now, but there was no sign of change, no improvement, no response. Sarah sat beside him, her hands wrapped tightly around his. Her lips moved in silent prayer to an alien god Jace didn't recognize, but faith didn't need translation. Jace watched the boy's chest. One shallow rise, then nothing. He stepped outside, trying to clear his head. The dunes stretched endlessly. Jace looked up at the stars, remembering Earth, his younger brother, and every time he'd felt powerless. Now once again, he was standing at the edge of failure. What if he came too late? What if Kale dies? Suddenly, a faint cry broke the silence. Mama? Jace rushed back inside. Sarah was already leaning over her son, tears falling freely down her cheeks. Kale blinked slowly. His breathing was weak, but real. His voice was small, but full of life. You came back, he whispered to her. I never left, she said, smiling through her tears. Jace let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Kale's body began to glow faintly, the way Sarah's did when she healed. The human blood in him had fought hard, but the alien side was finally accepting the cure. Sarah looked up at Jace, voice trembling. You did it, you saved him. No, Jace said. We saved him. As dawn broke, Kale fell back into sleep. Peaceful this time, not sick. Sarah wrapped him warmly and stood to face Jace. There's something you need to know, she said. Now that he's awake, the council will come for him. His glow means the bloodlines have joined fully. They won't see him as a child anymore. They'll see him as a threat. Jace frowned. He's just a boy. Sarah's voice dropped. He's the first hybrid to survive. And now, they will hunt him. Jace clenched his jaw. Let them try. They spent the morning packing quietly. Jace modified a hover sled to carry Kyle while he rested. Sarah checked their path forward, toward an abandoned human outpost deep in the dunes. As they moved, Kyle woke again and looked up at Jace. Are you my father? Jace blinked in surprise. No, I'm just someone who wanted to help, the boy smiled. Then I think I want to be like you when I grow up. Jace's throat tightened. I hope you grow up in a world where that's possible. Suddenly, Sarah stopped walking. Her eyes went wide. A dark shape moved over the sand in the distance. No, not them. Jace followed her gaze. In the sky above, a sleek black ship floated silently, Sierra whispered. That's not my people. That's a hunter-class ship. Bounty faction, Jace cursed. They tracked your escape pod signal. Sarah's hands lit up faintly. We can't outrun them. Jace pulled his blaster. Then we stand our ground. Sarah grabbed his hand. No, let me handle this. As the ship landed, sand blowing in every direction, 3 armored figures stepped out. Tall, masked, and armed. One of them stepped forward. We have orders to retrieve the hybrid child. Alive or dead. Doesn't matter which. Jace stepped in front of Kale. You'll have to go through me first. The lead hunter raised his weapon. Before he could fire, a pulse of blue energy exploded from Sarah's hands, sending him flying. Jace fired, taking down the second. The third hesitated, then ran back to the ship. The battle was over in seconds. Sarah fell to her knees, exhausted. Jace helped her up. You didn't tell me you were that powerful. I didn't know, she said. Maybe. My powers grew when I chose to protect, not obey. Jace looked at her and Kale standing together now. You're not running anymore, he said. Sarah nodded. We're fighting. And so the human, the alien mother, and her half-human child continued their journey. Not just to survive, but to change the future. Because sometimes one boy waking up can wake up the whole galaxy. Enemy at the door. Hook. Start. The warning light turned red. Jace's AI spoke calmly, but the words hit like gunfire. Multiple incoming ships. Code. Red. Royal Enforcer class. Sarah's face went pale. It's them, the ones who never miss. The dunes were quiet when it happened. Jace had just finished setting up solar panels near their hidden shelter. Kale was resting peacefully while Sarah meditated nearby, regaining her strength. The winds had died down, and for a moment it felt like peace had finally arrived. Then the AI alert cut through the silence like a scream. 3 unidentified aircraft inbound. Estimated arrival, 9 minutes. Speed, military class. Sarah stood instantly, her body tensing. No bounty hunters this time, she said. These are enforcers, royal guards, trained since birth to kill anyone who defies the council. Jace clenched his fists. So they've sent your own people to finish the job. Sarah nodded, her voice cold. They will not negotiate. Not for me. Not for Kale. Not for anyone. Jace rushed inside the shelter and activated emergency protocols. He grabbed weapons, powered up the defense grid, and uploaded a distress beacon, coded in an ancient Terran military signal only old Earth veterans could understand. Just in case someone's out there still listening, he muttered. Sarah prepared, her son placing a soft breathing mask over his mouth. Kale looked up. Are the bad people coming again? She nodded. But you're safe, we'll protect you. Jace checked his weapons charge and looked at Sarah. We don't run this time. No, she replied. We stand. In the sky above, the black ships broke through the clouds, sleek, silent, and deadly like sharks cutting through still water. They hovered above the sand for only seconds before dropping 3 shining pods. The pods hit the ground and opened with a hiss. 3 tall figures emerged, cloaked in silver armor, faces hidden behind gold visors and weapons humming with energy. Each of them moved with perfect precision. The leader spoke without emotion. Return the hybrid child. The royal line must remain pure. This is your only warning. Jace stepped forward. No. The word hung in the air like thunder. Without another word, the enforcers raised their weapons. Jace dove to the side and fired first. Plasma bolts lit the desert sky. Sarah shouted a command in her alien tongue and raised a barrier of energy around Kale. She joined Jace in the fight, her hands glowing brighter than ever before. But the enforcers were fast. One dodged a bolt and landed just meters from Kale's position. No, Sarah screamed. She teleported in a flash of blue light, tackling the attacker mid-air. The two rolled across the sand in a violent clash of energy. Jace took on the second enforcer, blasting and dodging behind rocks. His visor displayed health, warnings, but he didn't care. If he died, it would be for something that mattered. Suddenly, the third enforcer landed behind him. Too fast. Jace turned too late. His weapon ripped from his hands by a magnetic pulse. Before the enforcer could strike, Kale, from inside the shield, let out a sharp cry. A shockwave burst from the boy's body, raw, uncontrolled energy. All three enforcers froze, staggered by the pulse. Even Sarah fell to her knees. Kale opened his eyes. His body glowed white-hot, pulsing with a strange blend of human and alien power. He had awakened. The enforcers looked at each other, unsure. "This is not normal," one said. "This is dangerous," another added. The leader lowered his weapon, slowly. "Retreat and report. The hybrid is more than we expected." The three vanished into the light, pulled back into their ships. Within seconds, the sky was empty again. Silence returned to the dunes. Sarah crawled over to her son, holding him close. Her eyes overflowed with both fear and awe. Jace stared at Kale. "What just happened?" he asked quietly. Sarah shook her head. "Something ancient. Something lost. Kale didn't just survive, he unlocked something." Jace looked toward the horizon. "Then we need answers, fast." As they packed to leave the shelter, Jace's AI beeped one last time. Incoming message detected. Language: Old Earth military. Furton message reads, "And help is coming. Hold the line." Jace smiled faintly. "Looks like we're not alone after all." The vow beyond species hook. Start. The signal came at midnight, an old Earth voice crackling through static. "We see you, human. We see the boy. And we believe." Jace froze. Sarah looked at him. For the first time, she whispered, "Maybe. The galaxy is ready." The fire burned low in the cave one last time. Jace sat with Sarah and Kale, all of them watching the stars above the desert sky. The wind had calmed. The enemy ships were gone. And for the first time in days, there was silence without fear. Kale leaned against his mother, still glowing faintly from the energy inside him. "I feel different," he said. "Like warm inside. Like I'm not just me anymore." Sarah smiled and kissed his forehead. "That's because you carry two legacies now. Human and Valen," Jace added, "and maybe something older than both." Early the next morning, they reached the abandoned outpost. Jace had only heard rumors of it, a hidden place built during the first human exploration wars, now forgotten. But the place wasn't empty. A group of old human veterans had made it their home. Some were half machine, some scarred beyond recognition, but all of them stood when Jace arrived holding the boy in his arms. The leader, a woman with steel eyes and a robotic arm, stepped forward. "We heard your distress call, and we saw what the enforcers tried to do. That boy changes everything." Sarah stepped beside Jace, proud. "His name is Kale. He is the future." Inside the outpost, word began to spread. A hybrid child had survived, had awakened powers, and had forced even royal enforcers to retreat. The human veterans offered protection. But Sarah had a bigger vision. She stood before them and said, "I will not hide anymore. I will return to my people and speak before the council. Let them try to silence me. Let the galaxy see the truth, with Kale beside me." Jace looked at her, shocked. "You'll be killed." She took his hand. "Not if someone stands beside me." He stared at her, then nodded. "Then I'm going with you." They returned in a diplomatic ship offered by the veterans. Kale stood between Sarah and Jace, wearing a robe that glowed with symbols from both worlds, human and Valen. His tiny face looked serious. At the royal palace, guards tried to block their way until Kale raised his hand, and the great doors opened by themselves. The High Council chamber was silent as the three entered. Gasps echoed around the room. Whispers filled the air. "Is that the hybrid? He lives? That human." "He's armed." Jace raised his voice. "This child is not a weapon. He's a bridge. You tried to erase him because you feared what he meant. But he means hope." Sarah stepped forward. I am Princess Sarah of Valen. I disobeyed to save my son. If that makes me a traitor, so be it. But I will not let this galaxy stay blind. She turned to Jace. And I will not walk this path alone. In front of everyone. She took Jace's hand and placed her pendant, the royal symbol, into his palm. Gasps again. You touched the pendant, she said. By our law, that makes you my bonded protector. And in our tradition, my chosen mate. Jace blinked. Wait, what now? Sarah smiled gently. This isn't just about saving lives. It's about uniting two worlds. If we show them that love exists between our kinds, maybe others will follow. Jace thought for a moment, then nodded. Then let's break every rule in the book. The council didn't cheer, but they didn't speak either. They listened. And sometimes, that's the first step. Weeks later, across many systems, messages spread. A child has united what war could not. A human and a Valen royal stand together. The galaxy is watching. Some called it a betrayal. Others called it a new beginning. But, to Kale, it was something much simpler. He held both his mother's and Jace's hands and whispered, I'm not alone anymore.